Good afternoon and welcome to today's episode of Random Guy number 6. I'm currently in Kingman, Arizona, painting a house. But I wanted to do a little side video to show you how to paint a door. So we have this really messed up kind of door that needs quite a bit of TLC. As you can see, there's a lot of gunk and goo in this door that all needs to get scraped out and removed. We're gonna give it a light sand and paint it that trim color so that it matches the house. There's a little dent here. We'll probably take care of that, or at least try and hide it a little bit. So I'm gonna take you through all the techniques on how to make this door look brand new. The first thing we need to do is get all this gunk off of here. And the easiest way to do that is going to be a razor blade. So you should be able to just kind of slide it in there, pull it off. It seems like it's old caulk or something. I'm not really positive, but you can cut it from both ends. If you need to actually cut down, just be real careful. It's gonna be the same deal kind of on this side. Be as careful as you can. If you scratch the door, it's not going to be a huge deal, obviously, because you're painting it. So be careful, but you don't have to get super crazy with it either. So that's pretty much how we're going to make it look. And I'm going to go ahead and finish out the rest of this. Now that we got the bulk of that goop off, we're gonna wanna sand this entire door. So on the flat spots, you just wanna lightly sand it. And this is actually plastic. So we do still wanna sand it because we're gonna prime this whole thing. So, and there's residual gunk on here. We're gonna wanna get the rest of that residual gunk off here. Make sure you hit every little nook and cranny that you can. You can kind of watch it change colors. Just sand it as best you absolutely can and get all the way to the glass. So get all the way to the glass because we're gonna put some new caulk in here too. Make it all look nice. So once that's sanded, we'll move on to the next steps. So the next thing we need to do is remove the hardware from the door. We've got a deadbolt, a regular lock, and some weather stripping at the bottom. So it's super easy. We got two screws here, two here, and two here, and the whole thing will just fall off. So it should be pretty quick and easy here. Now I am gonna paint this edge of the door as well, so I am gonna take these off, because you can see this is pretty dirty and messed up. Normally you would paint this edge of the door to the inside color and the back edge to the outside color because that's how it turns and opens. But we're gonna do both edges to the outside color. Down here on the bottom we have one of these super easy pieces of weather stripping to pop off because it does kind of fold up on the door. Now all it does is it just kind of clips in there. So if you push it down, you can slide it right off. Then it's completely out of your way. You can paint the whole door and we might get a new one. Now the next step we're gonna do is tape the glass. Now you don't always have to tape the glass. If I was just going to be putting like 1 or 2 coats of paint on it, I wouldn't tape the glass, I would just do it freehand, but I'm doing a primer coat and 3 coats of paint to seal this up and make it durable. So rather than try to cut this glass 4 times, I'm just gonna tape it off once, slop it on there, and it's just gonna make things a little bit easier. If you're not comfortable with cutting, tape the glass. You'll have to do a little bit of touch-ups maybe on the edge when you pull the tape, but it's still a heck of a lot faster than trying to cut this thing 4 times. So let's get that done. Now, a nice little trick to get your tape corners perfect is to just kind of put it in there. Push it down. You can take like a little putty knife, kind of put it right there. And then once you get it down where you want it, you just get a little razor blade, give it a little cut. Whoop. Make sure that the razor blade is sharp first, then give it a little cut. Oh, have a sharp razor blade and just give it a little cut right along the edge there. And once you're cut, the tape will just peel right off and you got a perfect corner. Now that we have the glass all taped, we're ready for primer. But I'm using this type of a 4-inch roller because I am specifically trying to put a texture on this. Just a little bit of an orange peel, and that will kind of hide the imperfections and stuff. Now, if you are trying to do like a perfectly smooth look on a door, you're gonna wanna get like a foam roller, a little weenie roller, and that'll give you more of a smooth look. Or you can spray it, which you'd have to tape off a little bit more than just the edge of the glass. But first things first, make sure that you tape your roller, because if you do not, you can get a bunch of gunk and dirt and lint, and it'll just roll out on your door, and you're gonna have to wipe it all off and do it all again, and you're not gonna be happy. So let's start there. You just need to grab your tape, toss it under your knee, and give her one of those, or 2 or 3. Do it as many times as you like, just to get as much of that dirt out of there. And I would call that roller good and clean. Now, when you put on your primer and or paint, there is no right or wrong way to do it. I like to start from the inside of the frame, work my way out, and then kind of roll everything last. Get all the cutting done first, and then roll all of the bigger spaces. That's usually gonna be the best way to do it. You can do it other ways if you want. Whatever you do, you should always cut whatever edges you're gonna roll into first. So you can go top to bottom, left to right, down to bottom to top, outside to inside. Just make sure that you cut your edges first and then roll everything out. Next we're gonna do is to caulk the edges, caulk the cracks right inside the window here and along the outside. So you can see some of these gaps are pretty bad. That's pretty nasty looking. So basically you just wanna take your caulk, jam it in there, give it a little squeeze. Make sure you fill those gaps up, because if you don't fill it up, then you're gonna end up with holes and it's not gonna look good. So you can kind of slop it on in there like so, and then just take your finger down, and that'll make it look pretty. The last thing we're gonna have to deal with is this dent. Now, basically all I'm gonna do is just put a little caulk in there, fill it up real nice. And let me go grab this. Take a little putty knife, and I usually like to take it at about halfway point and push it out. Oh, I don't think I put enough in there. I did not. That is a bigger dent than I had anticipated. Well, let's put a little more caulk in there. There, I can live with that. Then before we paint it, I'll just rub off this outside stuff, and that looks fairly smooth. So that dent will be completely hidden. So I'm gonna put some caulk on the rest of this, wait for it to dry, and then we're finally ready to paint this with the actual color. So our caulk now is all set up and ready for paint. So all we need to do is slap some paint on this thing. First thing I would do would be to paint the inside edge and then kind of work your way out. Once you get to the outside edge, make sure you get in that corner really well and then feather out the outside edge. And when you feather this out, all that's gonna do is give you time to roll it. So normally when you would be painting this, if you're in a very humid climate, your paint will stay wet for longer. I'm in a very, very dry climate here in Arizona, so in order to not get lap marks, I need to feather this out, so when I roll this, you don't have this really nasty looking paint mark from your brush. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of this out. We've got our 3 coats of paint on the door now, and the last thing we need to do is pull the tape. And when we pull the tape, this edge right here is going to basically expose the white caulk that we put in there. So we're gonna pull this off, and it might pull a little bit of the paint off, so we're gonna kind of peel it off as gently as we can. And then when we see our white edge, or maybe there won't be a white edge, but more than likely there will, I'd say 99% chance, we're gonna have to just take our paintbrush and just touch up the little white spots. So let me give you a close-up, kind of show exactly what this is gonna look like, any issues that you might run into when you're doing this, and I'll show you how to fix it. Now when you're pulling the tape, you wanna grab this and peel it back this way, so you're getting kind of as straight of a line as you can. Now you kind of see that it's kind of ripping away a little bit. And this is in part because I did take a couple days on this. You could normally do this in one day, but I had other projects and stuff that I was working on. So when this stuff happens to you, don't worry, it's a no big deal. We can fix it. That's kind of all part of the process here. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish peeling this, but you can see how it's kind of doing that. It's peeled away. Some of the primer has bled through. let's see, some of the primer has kind of bled through here. Again, if I would have finished this all in one day, I might not have had these kind of issues, but it's not a big deal. So I'm gonna show you how to fix it. My next step is going to be to remove this primer, which I just have this nice little razor blade here. We just go very gently in there. So I ran into another issue. That brown goopy gunk that I was cleaning off the door that was super sticky is really embedded in these cracks. And basically also when I pulled the tape and kind of tried to clean this up, a lot of the caulk came out. Now, there's not too much I can do about getting that goop and gunk out of there besides sitting here with a toothpick for 6 or 8 hours and digging it out. And this door is not gonna stay forever. Me painting it is just a temporary fix anyways until they get a new door. So we just need to make it look good for a little while, which, I mean, it'll still last 10 years. So what I'm gonna need to do now is actually just re-caulk the bulk of this edge so that I can actually make this look good. Now I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. You see that like brown gunk in there? Like it's really, really sticky. Now, normally when you pull the tape, that would be what it should look like. And if I had done it within the first, few hours, it probably would have. But since I let it go for a day or two, the tape kind of stuck a little bit more to other things, and it just made it a little bit more of a pain in the butt. But normally you just have this little edge, and you could just take your paintbrush and go real lightly here and touch that up and you're done. But since I waited too long, now I've got some other little things to fix, but all I'm really gonna do now is just re-caulk this edge and then give that edge probably 2 coats of paint and then we'll be done. I'll just have to take a little bit of time touching it up. So the door is now fully completed, and I hope you don't run into the same problems that I did when I was painting it. Some of the problems were my fault for waiting more than a couple hours and just finishing it all in one day. So I did wait a couple days, but the other issue obviously was that gunk that was in there. Hopefully you don't run into the issues like that, but if you do, now hopefully you know how to fix it, or at least if you run into something similar, you have some things that you can try. So I'm gonna say that's it for today, and I'll see you soon.